I've been reviewing Certinas since I started this YouTube journey, and I'm not even sure which part I like the most about Certina watches, their designs or the DS concept with the turtle on the case back, or maybe their rich history. The thing is, there are a lot of reasons to become a fan of the brand. They are accessible for a Swiss manufacturer, they provide the assurance of longevity thanks to their DS concept, and they offer unique designs having their own DNA developed in years. Because besides their modern watches, Certina is looking into their pasts, coming up with exciting models. And today it is the case we're looking at a diver watch which I was expecting for a long time. The Certina DS Super PH1000M, part of their heritage collection. So we are witnessing the release of an important diver watch which might be in the Hall of Fame of the most important diver watches all time, alongside Omega, Blancpain, Rolex or Doxa. Brands which contributed to the conquering of the oceans and the space, where Certina did play a role. The Tektite I project was a federal experiment which aimed to study the behavior of aquanauts which spent 60 days in an underwater habitat at 50 meters below the sea level. The data being collected to understand the behavior of the inhabitants in harsh environments for the space projects for the astronauts. So the Super PH500M, the UFO, was the chosen watch to equip the aquanauts alongside the Rolex Sea Dweller, passing 13 criteria of evaluation in order to be accepted on the project. In 1970s, on the Tektite II project, Certina offered an upgrade for the 500M model, coming up with a more robust and reliable diver, the DS Super PH1000M, which equipped the Royal Australian Navy as well. And there is a lot to discover about Certina divers, and for more info I advise you to check vintagecertinas.ch. I will leave the link in the description. This is potentially my preferred watch released by Certina so far. I think this is a watch with a lot of personality which was specifically built on a function-first approach. To be ergonomic, easy to understand, easy to read and easy to operate. And I find it as a highly collectible diver watch due to its historical significance. The actual Super PH1000M is offered in two colors, the orange-yellow dial, which is made in a limited edition of 1000 pieces, and the non-limited version offered on a black dial. Very interesting to point out, the Super PH1000M, the vintage model, was a tool watch, period. But what is super interesting, the brand knew that if the proportions would have been kept, this would have been a niched watch. The original model, to ensure 1000 meters as waterproofness, had to have around 18 millimeters in thickness, so the trapezoid design with the angled bezel was the solution to ensure depth rating but wearability and comfort as well. And here we can preview my limited edition DS3 chronograph and how it looks compared to the new PH1000M. So they made the new version way thinner and less curved, with a reduced tonneau volume in order to make it wearable and a bit more commercial, but without ruining from the legendary core of the case, I'd say. And by doing so, the watch is very comfortable, so it looks and wears smaller than the specs indicated. And speaking about the specs, we have a tonneau case measuring 43.5mm in diameter with 48mm as lug tip to lug tip, 14mm in height, 20mm between the lugs and weighs 120 grams. The case and the crown ensures 1000 meters thanks to the signed screw-down crown and the helium escape valve. We have a sapphire crystal and an interesting unidirectional bezel with 60 clicks. Underneath the legendary turtle case back beats the heart of the automatic Powermatic AT611, a movement based on the ETA2824 with 80 hours power reserve, a Nivacron anti-balance spring, and obviously solid accuracy. The model is offered in two versions, the Tektite Special version with the yellowish dial, which is limited to 1000 pieces, which costs 970 Swiss francs, and the non-limited version with a black dial, which is offered for 950 Swiss francs. The yellow version comes with a rubber accordion diving strap with extension, where the non-limited has a two-piece nylon strap. So if you like this limited version, I advise you to secure yours because I find it as highly collectible, and as well I am personally chasing to grab one for the collection to put it next to my DS3. As I was mentioning, the watch has an unusual action of the bezel. If you are trying to rotate it, you'll see that it doesn't work that well, but that is not sloppy engineering, has a safety feature. The bezel works and it can be actioned as well as the vintage models by pressing on the bezel and then rotate it, the same feature implemented in the modern DS Super PH500M. And this action can be performed with gloves or underwater. As case design, I was mentioning the 1000 meters being adjusted to be inclusive for various wrists, with a design which was reduced to fulfill this purpose. From the front we have a slightly reduced tonneau case made on a brushed rhythm with a curved polished profile which follows the wrist volume. And then looking at the entire profile, this has a trapezius shape as a motif of the iconic model, but being far more reduced in height compared to the original one or the chronograph. And here we can preview the polished intermediary ring, which is considerably reduced. The dial composition is exceptional. Although the watch case measures 43.5mm in diameter, the dial surface of the watch is small, exactly as the original model. We have a condensed layout which contains rectangles and squared applied markers outlined in metal with some diminished and well-executed plongeur hands against the lacquered surface. The plongeur hands were developed in the infancy of diving watches, and they were considered some of the most legible hands because if you pay attention, each hand has a specific shape and length to be distinguished in low light conditions. So if you wanted to obtain a contract with the state or the army, the plongeur hands were pretty much mandatory. Now, the surface of the dial is yellow, more of an orange-yellow tone, but is part of the yellow color palette rather than orange, having a bit of red in the pigment. And technically the yellow dial surface, I assume, was developed to offer higher legibility underwater because you have the hands orbiting around a bright surface with distinct markers at 12, 6 and 9. Getting back to the surface, I was mentioning the layout was downscaled and the reduced hands look amazing. And against the markers and the hands we have the Super PH printing with the iconic Certina logo painted in silver and the rest of the text being contrasted in black. In my view, there was not necessarily a need to place limited edition on the dial. The yellow version looks and feels already special and easy to be identified as limited. And then lume-wise, Certina or their heritage PHs was always responsible and added a lot of Swiss superluminova on the markers, the pip and the hands. When fully charged, the lume can be distinguished over the night without problems after 6 or 7 hours. It depends how much you sleep. As wearability and comfort, I was mentioning the watch wears and looks way smaller than the specs indicated. According to my experience, the watch is tailored to be worn as a daily watch without problems, but as a reliable tool as well. So the not so fat case back gets buried on the wrist surface and the arched profile of the case nearly reaches the wrist surface. As a conclusion, this is an exciting release and I salute Certina and the design department for creating a nearly commercial ready-to-wear diver as a normal watch but as a tool diver without ruining from its DNA. I think quality-wise this diver is well made, it is well refined and finished, and a highly collectible item, as I said, due to its historical significance. And as a result, the Super PH1000M will qualify as a brave beater in the position 51 in the Hall of Fame, being the first watch to pass through the first 50 watches qualified as brave beaters on the channel. The list can be previewed by choosing the sub-playlist within the channel, with the promise that I will make a fully dedicated episode for this. Promises. In the end, I want to thank Certina for sending these watches or this watch. Surprise. And I'm really curious to know what do you think about this Super PH1000M. Please let me know in the comments below. And as usual, if you're new around, please consider subscribing for future episodes. Thank you very much, thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave and stay safe.